Hey there, it's Nathalie. Welcome to my channel, and I don't know if I'm like y'all are like I am, just kind of a little bored with being inside. But anyway, all that aside, I have downloaded, purchased, tried numerous patterns for surgical scrub hats. I've got some nurse friends that have requested, and I'm going to post some pictures of what I've already made, what they liked, what they didn't like. But anyway, they decided that they liked close fitting and with a little poof for a ponytail that has an adjustable band, a little elastic, and a ribbon slide. Well, I don't have enough hair for a ponytail, but I'm going to show you how this fits anyway. So, and this one, I put just an extra piece of fabric up here. You don't have to. And so this will come in and tie. And then you can tie up your ponytail or your extra hair. And there's room if you. I don't have much hair. You can see I've got all this extra space. Because my hair is thin and fine and short. So I purchased a pattern called Pixie. It's designed by Angie, and she's on Etsy. But my nurse friends didn't like the bouffant style. It's easy to make. But they liked the one that was close fitting, close to the head. And so I found Larissa Fontenot, and she's got some videos on YouTube, and I'll put the link below. But the ponytail thing was too tight. I may have not done it right. So I just decided to make my own pattern. So here we go. My pattern is going to be a free download. You can go over to myhaulcloset.com and go and you subscribe there, and you can get it from my resource library, my free goodie library. Anyway, so I'm going to show you step by step on how to do this, so don't go away. To cut this surgical scrub hat, you're going to need 1/4 of a yard of 45-inch wide fabric. If it's only 42 wide, you're going to need 1/3 of a yard. I have adjusted the fold where it's not selvage to selvage, so it's the length of my main part of my hat pattern, and pin it down. You're also going to need 2 lengths of 15 inches of ribbon and 3.5 inches of elastic. Now it could be 1/4 inch or 3/8 inch. I have this on the fold on the cross grain of the fabric, and then so that cuts the main part. Then the crown, you can cut it on the fold, or you can double your pattern piece and then do it like this, and so you can just cut one layer as you go. Now, of course, and if you watch my other video on cutting multiples, you could layer up this fabric. I have quite a bit of this fabric, and I could probably cut 6 of them at a time and get them ready to stitch. Now, clip that little center part so I can know where to match. Now, right here, it's on your pattern. There is a buttonhole mark, and I'm using a water erasable pen, or you can use a pencil to mark that. And so that buttonhole will just be in a single layer, and you're not going to do 2 layers, and that's what your ribbon is going to go through and your elastic is going to go through. And I'll explain that later on in the video, so don't worry about that. So I'm going to match up my centers on the top of the cap, on that curved edge on the back side, not the straight side, but the side that has the curves in it. So I'm going to pin in the middle, and then I'm going to go down to the edge and pin in the dip. And so just kind of mark right in there, pin that, and then you can ease around. Normally I just sew it, but I wanted to show you how to pin this so that you can make sure that you don't wind up with a bunch of fullness in one place and then it not matching, not meeting where it's supposed to meet. So I'm going to go ahead and pin that other edge, the bottom edge, in that point again, just to make sure I've got that where it'll meet and do what it's supposed to do. All right, and then we're going to go to got all pinned in place. We're going to go to the sewing machine, and so there's my point, and in my center, I'm going to take one pin loose on the back side so that I don't catch anything whenever I'm stitching this. So that'll free that up for me to stitch around. And I'm going to do a back stitch. I'm going to do 1/4 of an inch, or the width of my presser foot, so about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance is what I have allowed on this pattern. And again, this pattern is on my website, myhallcloset.com. You can download it. I ask you not to sell the pattern, but you can, sew for your friends or sew them to sell them. That'll be fine. Also, this is an adaptation from like 3 or 4 different patterns, things that I saw online, and had to just figure out. I just went with what my nurse friends wanted, and this is what they requested. They wanted something that fits close. Now, whenever I get down to this point, I'm going to watch that little point area right there, and then match it back up in here, and then just bring those stitches together, and just kind of let them touch but not overlap. Let's get that close. Watch my stitches, backspace. There we go. Not backspace, reverse stitch. There we go. Now, and I am going to take this to the serger and serge my edges. You can zigzag it to finish it, and see right there I've got a nice close fit on the point at the bottom of that crown. So I serge that all around, and now I'm going to mark for my buttonholes. And again, they're just going through a single layer, so what I've done is I have a piece of interfacing that's going to go on the underside, and that'll give that buttonhole just a little bit of support. You may not even need to use that or to do that. And I have a little buttonhole guide to stitch thing. I'm not using a buttonhole foot, just my regular presser foot, and following the instructions on my sewing machine for making a buttonhole. So it's about 3/4 of an inch long, because you want to make sure that it doesn't catch in the band when you turn that band under. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and clip the excess off and open up the buttonhole. And it's going to be easier if I do this from the back side, because I can really see, especially if you're working on print fabric, sometimes it's hard to see the stitching against the print, but whenever it's against the interfacing, it's really easy to see where you need to clip. And go ahead and clip that open, and then we're going to go ahead and stitch the back part of the ponytail holder area. Match up that little dip stitch that's right there, and then stitch around the curve and go back, and I'm going to serge that. I serge that in place, and normally I would serge this long edge of this band area, but just in case you don't have a serger, I'm going to go ahead and show you how. I just fold in, measure in, I think it's 1.25 inches, and then I turn a 1/4 inch under, so that I can just do a long straight stitch. And so my stitch length on my machine, it's set about 3, so just about a medium length stitch. And I'm going to start at the bottom at that ponytail area, that little curved section, and stitch all the way around with just a long straight running stitch. And I'm going to clip off that. There's a little bit of that interfacing showing, and I didn't want that to show. And just turning it, you can press it and pin it, but I'm just like pushing it in with my finger as I go. Trying to keep this video so that it's not like a half an hour long or 2 hours long or something like that. Okay, we've got that ready to go now. And this is what it looks like. Opened up, there's the crown part, the sides, and the little ponytail area. And so our next step is going to be to cut our ribbons. We've got the ribbons cut 15 inches long, and I'm going to use, you can use a candle. I'm just using a little lighter to fuse the ends of the ribbon so they don't fray. That one was cut a little crooked, so again, use my little lighter. Be careful you don't burn yourself or catch your house on fire. You don't need that on top of all of this other stuff that's going on. I hope y'all are staying in and staying safe. All right, so we're going to attach the elastic to one end of the ribbon, and I'm moving in about 1/4 inch on both pieces, so that I don't know if you can see that, but so you can see it's about 1/4 inch in on the with the stitching. All right, so it's about 1/2 inch in. and then fold that ribbon over so that it's not going to fray out when you run it through the casing. The casing was what we formed with that long running stitch. We're going to go into one of the buttonhole. First we need to measure 3 inches, because at 3 inches, now that's from the very bottom of that curved area. We'll put a little pin, not through both pieces. You got to make sure you just pin through one piece. You could mark it with a little, with the water erasable marker, or you could mark it with a safety pin, like on the very edge, and just so that you don't catch it. So that is where the elastic is going to start and stop. So we're going to thread that ribbon elastic assembly all the way through the casing. Just feeding it through, watching whenever I come to the pin, make sure that I'm free there. And so whenever I get to where I'm going, get to where I need to be, I'll be able to feel the thickness where that ribbon and elastic was attached together. And I want to make sure that it's flat, so that it hasn't turned backwards on me as I'm inside that casing. There's probably another way to do this, but this is my way. So you know, there's so many videos on YouTube right now for caps, surgical caps and hats and mask, and pull that ribbon all the way out to the other end, the other buttonhole. Okay, so now we're going to adjust everything back through. I'm going to feel for that thick spot where my ribbon and my elastic are joined. Repin that because my pin came out 3 inches from that bottom. And again, my elastic was cut 3.5 inches. Just feeling around, and I can feel the beginning and the end of the elastic and the beginning of the ribbon. Find the middle area of that, and then I'm going to stitch that in place. There, feel it. Make sure you can feel it in there. So I'm going to secure it so it doesn't slide on me. Do the other side. Pull that through so I can feel it again. Now I guess you could just even everything up and then do a stitch at the very bottom and then just let it do what it's going to do, stretch and pull. This is so that you can adjust it around your ponytail or your hair, but what the nurses had asked me for, they wanted something. Now I'm going to back stitch. I'm going to do back and forth, or forward and back twice. And but they wanted something that wasn't so snug on their ponytails. One of the patterns that I found online, her video was really good. The pattern was too tight to get your hair down into it. So that's the reason I made this little pouch. So there's the adjustment. The elastic stretches at the bottom, and then you can do an extra adjustment with the ribbon ties, and then your hair can go in there. And so this will accommodate a reasonable head of hair. Also, I'm putting a button on the side. I don't think I said that in the introduction, but this is because a lot of my nurse friends, their ears are sore from wearing the mask all the time. And so this way they can attach those elastics of their face mask over the buttons. So I'm measuring down 7 inches from the center of the top of the cap, and then 2 3/4 inches in, and I'm putting a little piece of interfacing behind that, the same like I did for the buttonhole, and then I have a button attachment for my machine, and whenever I put it to 0 setting on the zigzag, then it will automatically drop my feed dog, so it's not going to move. Line that button up, and I'm going to very carefully, to make sure that I have my adjustment, the width adjustment right, just do a couple of little stitches to start off with. Now this video was speeded up, so you're not really seeing that. And then clip off all of my threads. And we are almost done. This is the last step. It's just getting those buttons in place. And I moved that pin out of the way before I start stitching, but that pin shows me where I need to be, and it also holds that piece of interfacing in place. And there we go. That's it. Well, I hope my video has helped you. I hope you liked it. Be sure you give me a little thumbs up, subscribe, share, you know the drill. Stay home, stay safe, use common sense, and if you have any issues, let me know. Thank you for stopping by, and I will see you next time. God bless you. Bye.